this segment, we travel to Oklahoma, where, like Louisiana, new laws favoring Christianity threaten classrooms and challenge constitutionality. Kelly Laughlin will introduce what is happening here.
Thanks, Jimmy. Oklahoma School Superintendent Ryan Walters wants to turn the state's classrooms into a Bible study and is implementing procedures to do so immediately. That's correct. You heard me right. Immediately. In a statement last week, Ryan called the Bible an indispensable historical and cultural touchstone, and he seems to think that students are unable to grasp the foundation of the United States without understanding the Bible first. Now, that's going to be harsh news for all the Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, atheist, and other non-Christian students in Oklahoma. Are they going to be able to pass American history classes now because they don't understand it? Of course, there has been state and even nationwide opposition to this administrative change. And even the Interfaith Alliance has stood up against it, saying, true religious freedom means ensuring that no one religious group is allowed to impose its viewpoint on all Americans. This story is from the BBC News by Bernd de Busman Jr. on June 29, 2024.
Unbelievable. And, you know, with what's going on in Louisiana right now, like we talked about earlier this week, it's going to be hard for me to figure out who I'm talking about. I think it's just also confusing and more of the same nonsense, no matter where you look in some of these red states, if you will. But Kelly, you are our resident geologist, and Ryan Walters called the Bible a touchstone. Is he correct?
Well, I don't know if that he's correct. Now, a lot of people don't actually know what a touchstone is, but it was actually a black stone found in rivers in Asia Minor that they would use to test the purity of gold. You would scrape your gold ore on it, and the color that the streak on the black stone would tell you how pure the gold is. So I think what he's saying here is that we have to test for the purity of the students, which to me is really gross. And he doesn't know what a touchstone does or is, and he's just the oxygen stealer that he appears to be. So,
yeah, and in saying touchstone, I think that's just a misnomer for what he's actually trying to say.
I don't know. Like I say, I don't know if he actually knows what it means, because what he's saying is we need to purify this. We need to make sure that our students are pure and only Christian, I think.
He probably means like keystone, like a foundation or something that holds things together, which I would disagree as well. I don't believe that America, the United States in particular, right? We're not talking about America, the Americas, we're talking about the United States. And I don't think our Constitution is necessarily held together by the Bible. I don't think that the Bible is necessary to understand our government. That doesn't seem right to me. But, you know, there are organizations and there are efforts live and in color today that are trying to intermingle the two. And so, Eli, I wanted to go to you and ask you about your concerns that you have with this agenda being representative of the infamous Project 2025. Can you explain to our viewers a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Project 2025 is essentially this plan for transition into another Republican presidency in the event of a victory victory this year for Republican Party. So it involves things like, Christian, like I mentioned in the last segment, you're pushing religion into schools, Christianity specifically into schools. I would not, like I mentioned, be surprised to see Christianity become the state-sponsored religion. What Russell Vought is he founded the Center for Renewing America. And in 2021, he wrote that Christian nationalism recognizes America as a Christian nation, but makes a commitment to an institutional separation between the church and state, but not the separation of Christianity from its influence on government and society. And those two things sound so similar to me that if they are not the exact same, I'll rip my face off and staple it on Jungle Cat for the rest of the year, because it just seems so crazy to me to think that there's a distinction between those two things. And that's sort of what concerns me about this, is because we sort of have like a Republican majority SCOTUS right now. Things like this could be allowed to fly. Like I kind of expressed some certainty before about, this is either going to get shut down or it's going to go this way. But to be realistic, we have to consider the fact that a Republican majority Supreme Court might allow things like this to go on, especially, if they're expecting that victory this year.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Expecting the victory in the Supreme Court is just one reason why we might see things pop up like this pretty routinely. Like I mentioned earlier, like we all talked about 2 nights ago, because today's what, Friday? So Wednesday night segment, we mentioned how the Supreme Court could have an influence in Louisiana. This is just one of those other fights that poses the threat. But, let's say that the goal here is to really educate children, okay? Which I don't think any of us actually believe that, but let's just say that. Rob, could there be some positives in children being forced to read the Bible?
It'll make more atheists, for one. So, yes. Again, going backwards a little bit, I do actually enjoy the idea of like a philosophy of religion or a history of religion in courses like that. But we know that's not what they want. They want to be taught as truth. So let's just start with what they actually want, which is taught as truth. So I saw a TikTok recently that was like, there's a book in schools' libraries that has 2 daughters get their father drunk and have sex with him, hoping to become incestuously impregnated. Should that be in schools? And of course they say no. And so it is telling how often Christians don't know their own Bible. And I don't know who said it, but it's a very famous quote. The surest way of making an atheist is having someone read the Bible. So if they actually taught the Bible, and presumably they taught it as if it is factually correct or inerrorable, then yeah, I suspect more people realize that it's completely insane.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep harkening back. So there's so many similarities to our earlier segment in Louisiana and the one here. And Kelly, you talked about a religion wall, right? So in Louisiana, there was a law that the 10 Commandments have to be posted. And when we say, how about the other religions? How about these religions get put up? Kelly, is there a negative to having maybe all of the religions together being displayed in these classrooms?
Well, now we're talking about actually teaching the Bible. So if we want to keep
excuse me.
Right?
Yes.
If we want to keep this constitutionally correct, that means that we have to be able to teach all the other religions. So any time devoted to the Bible has to get equal time by everybody else. So if we do a whole class, as like say a semester-long class on the Bible, then we're going to have one for every other religion. Now, How many religions are there? When are the kids going to be able to learn how to do arithmetic? When is algebra class going to happen? Right? When are they going to learn remember that American history they were talking about? We're not going to have time for American history because we're going to be too busy learning about religion. So yeah, there's definitely negatives to this. And again, I don't think this is going to hold up in court at all. I mean, it's just such a ridiculous idea. But it's also, again, going to take up all these resources to fight it in court. And he is implementing this immediately, which is a problem. You think, well, that's not a problem because we're in the middle of summer. Yeah, but there is summer school. And we have teachers that are not going to want to do this in their classroom. They're going to lose their license to teach. That's what he said. You're going to have your license to teach revoked. Now, when this is found to be unconstitutional, are these people going to get their jobs back? Are they going to be able to get their licenses reinstated? Right? And if not, isn't this just a way to weed out those teachers to begin with? We just fired them all and we don't have to rehire them. So we don't have to worry about those teachers coming back and not wanting to teach the Bible like they should be. So yeah, there's a big problem here.
Yeah. And we've talked about Oklahoma before in other episodes. Yeah. And they have really depleted their stock, if you will, of qualified teachers by lessening the qualifications necessary to teach, attracting people into these jobs that are actually not qualified. And now they're even giving them more content that is going to take away from the kids' education. Eli, when we talked about the problems that we're facing in Louisiana, and you said, well, if they have to post the Ten Commandments there, and they have to post all other religions to be constitutional. And now we look at Rob's point to where, well, maybe now if we teach these kids the Bible, we'll have more atheists. And Kelly says, well, we have to teach them all the religions. Maybe that'll have some kind of impact. How do you see, the teaching of the Bible and potentially making it consistent, making it constitutional, affecting Oklahoma?
So I remember
in Oklahoma.
Yeah. So I remember specifically the last time you and I talked about Oklahoma, Sydney Davis Jr. was with us as well. And she mentioned how Oklahoma is 49th in the country in education. Mm-hmm. And that was on the topic of allowing students to skip some classes, some hours each week, like 3 hours a week, to go to optional Bible classes. Now we're talking about mandating some time out of the day to take away from learning like real, true things that are going to help you in the world, to now devote that to, Bible, to Christianity. And I think we're going to really quickly see, whatever number is in 50, they're getting ready to move up a spot because Oklahoma is going to drop down that extra spot because they're taking resources away from what is really important and putting it into, Ryan Walters, preferred brand of magic.
Rob, you have a comment. Please indulge us.
It's so close to being okay because one of the best classes and most enlightening classes that I have ever had was philosophy of religion, history of religion. So if they actually taught it as a thing, because if we back up a little bit and we talk about like the whole touchstone and historical significance of America, I don't think anyone thinks he thinks touchstone. I didn't know what a touchstone was. I am not in his mind, but I assume he means the book's important, but you can't. He hasn't said or established any reason to go from the book's important to the book is truthful. So I agree with him as long as we take out the truthful portion and that it is important. We're literally here tonight talking about this because of this. Thus, we are proving the point that this is important. So yeah, teach it. And then actually teach what it's about and what's in it, and then put it up against all the other ones, and then God forbid they'll discover pluralism. Oh, you mean there's lots of different gods and stuff like that. So that's why I'm frustrated, because it is so close to being good, because it's almost like it's actually could, by actually teaching it, lead to discussions of many other religions. But it's not going to happen. Like I know that we're going to doom monger and say, it's going to be taught as a truthful, inerrable piece of fact. And that's sad.
Well, I agree with you. I think that it is really close to being okay because for the same reason, when I was a college student, the best class that I ever took was called Literature of the Bible. And on day one, our professor said, who told Adam and Eve it was okay, or Eve, it was okay to eat the apple? And everybody said Satan. And she said, you might want to look again. Do you want to take a look? And so there is some comfort in a way to teach the Bible as a literary device, right? To teach the Bible as a compilation of human history, as a philosophy book, perhaps, but certainly as a work of literature, and maybe as a work of history, but teaching the Bible as truth is not something that anybody can get on board on. It just makes it a problem. Now, Kelly, I want to ask you, keeping on that point, what if we had, and by the way, my second favorite class was called The Nature and Experience of Religion, where not only did I study Christianity, but I learned about Hinduism and Mormonism and Islam, and I learned about all the crazy stuff, Scientology and Mormons and things like that. I think I might have said that already. But in any case, Kelly, do we have an opportunity to beat Ryan Walters at his own game. I almost said Landry because we talked about Landry in Louisiana. Do we have an opportunity to beat Walters at his own game by saying, sure, you know what? Let's create a whole course out of this and let's teach all these great things, even if we say, and we'll tell them why Christianity's, I don't know, the best one or the most sensical. Is there a way to open children's minds? Is there a loophole here?
Yeah, I think if he wants to do this and keep it constitutionally legal, let's not have a class that teaches just the Bible. Let's have one that teaches comparative religions and take all the major religions of the world and put them next to each other and show what they all believe in, why they believe it, show the major tenets of those religions, and teach kids about these things. Because the more kids learn, the better off they're going to be. Let's face it. I mean, all of us have benefited from learning more from a better education, and that's true of everybody. So if we can take this teaching of the Bible and use it to teach these other religions as well, we probably are going to make a lot of people understand that maybe these religions are all made up.
Yeah.
Maybe the one religion I'm following isn't the one true religion. Maybe one of these other religions has the title to being the one true religion. So yeah, I think there's a lot of ways to defeat Ryan Walters on this at all, completely, just by teaching what he wants to have taught, but extending it and teaching about all religions.
Rob, did you raise your hand like a good student just now?
I did.
Good.
Go ahead. I'm a professional student. Thank you.
Yeah.
But no, because you're right, and I agree with you. And I'm not as up on Project 25 as I should be. But one of the things that I did not know, and is horrifying, is Eli explaining that the way that they define Christianity is a separate entity from religion. And I did not know that. So yeah, I agree with you, man. Like, put in all the texts, read all the books, learn all the things. But holy crap, they're like literally saying that it is not a religion, as described as Eli. So they're divorcing the idea of it being from a religion, because religion doesn't necessarily need to be true. There's lots of religions. And look, I have the right one, but you know why? Because mine's not a religion. And so this is just going back to they're redefining, and they are redrawing the lines in the sand. So I would love that to happen, Kelly, and I'm not sure that it will, based on their literal definition of what is a religion at this point. That's wild to me.
Eli, I want to posit something on you and get your thoughts on it. So,
Okay.
Rob made a quote today that he couldn't accurately attribute to anybody, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I heard a quote that I love is, religion is what happens when someone reads the Bible for you, and atheism is what happens when you read the Bible yourself. And on that note, I think that the worst thing to ever happen to religion was education. I think the invention of the printing press coincides, if not sparked, the Enlightenment and the Reformation. And now I think we're in a point where we just can't avoid education anymore. And I almost wonder, do we just roll with the punches and say, hey, kids, go ahead, read it and tell me what you think? Eli, what are your thoughts on that?
When you phrase it that way, yeah, that kind of does, like, it almost sounds like it would work. You know, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, this is fine. Let's do this. I was thinking, as you said it, the way that the printing press and the way that, like, how religion was taught, how Christianity was taught when it first started being taught, up until the point where everybody was able to read and everybody had a copy of it, they could read it. And that's when, like, you started to see people start to, I don't know about all of this. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and I've said before on the show that I guess I'm being a little bit hypocritical. I might change my stance here a little bit, because hiding information from kids because you don't think is true or because you don't think it's true, that's censorship. What would be the appropriate thing would be to give them all of the information, teach them reliable methods for determining what is true and what is not, and then set them loose on the Bible and say, what do you think? And yeah, I think if we do it that way, that we could see, as Rob said, it makes some more atheists and benefit that way.
I was just thinking probably the best way to get teenagers to read it is to tell them they can't.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. if I were the teacher in the classroom, and I didn't care about getting fired, I might assign them the stories like Rob talked about, where people are having sex and getting drunk and, doing all kinds of things. We all know the famous and probably all of our favorites, Ezekiel. I don't remember which one it was, but she longed for the days of her lovers.
And make sure their parents are seeing that homework too.
Yeah, that's right. She longed for the days where she lusted after her lovers who had discharges like horses and members like that of donkeys.
Yeah. Illustrate the following
I'm so sorry
scene.
I cut you off on that one, Jimmy.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. No, you had a good point, though. Parents might think they're on board with this until the kids are bringing home homework that I would bet you the parents don't even know. Yeah. Right? Go ahead, Rob.
Well, okay, so religion and Christianity has existed for a while. In the printing press has it existed since the 1400s. So something that has changed my mind recently is the way that people interact with what is reading. Mm-hmm. And so you start to get the idea of people reading a book by looking at the squiggles on the page and it makes you internally hallucinate silently is super new. Most people have engaged in reading audibly. There's a person who reads it and then you listen to it. That's reading for the vast majority of human history. So it is only after people learned how to read themselves that you get the explosion of different sects of Christianity and all the other ideas of, wait, I don't read it this way. So yes, giving people information is the surest way of making them critical. However, here's the problem. I don't know if this is intentional, but it is an effect, as you said, that they are reducing the quality of the teachers. Therefore, it's actually in their benefit to have people who don't know how to teach, because then they're going to teach what they believe the Bible says rather than what we're all talking about, which would be a really lovely thing to have happen.
Yeah, I think that would be a horrible thing for students, not only having unqualified teachers, but having unqualified teachers teach incorrect or incomplete information. Oklahoma is not in a good place. And honestly, where has religion thrived the most? Among the uneducated classes, among the people that can't think for themselves. Kelly, you're laughing.
No, I was thinking because Oklahoma is not in a good place. It's right next to Texas.
Oh, well, that's true.
And Missouri.
Yeah. So these systems that exist, the educational systems, are this turmoil is almost self-perpetuating. The more the government gets involved, the more there seems to be a problem, and the more the government gets involved with religion, right? And that's why the separation of religion and government is a central tenet of the atheist community of Austin. And, we've talked a lot tonight about reading the Bible or having people read it for you. And I can tell you, folks, if you keep viewing the nonprofits, keep tuning in. We will definitely read the hot articles for you, so you don't have to go find them yourselves. Click the link below for more.